Your resume feels a bit embellished, the interviewer remarked coolly. I'm skeptical you actually managed major accounts like these. My stomach nodded. 15 years of relentless work dismissed in an instant. The pressure of my shrinking savings pressed against my chest as I straightened in my chair. Every accomplishment listed there is real, I replied quietly. The market expansion plan I developed. Anyone can put impressive figures on paper, she interrupted, a thin smile curling on her lips. Without backing from a renowned firm, these claims sound questionable. 8 months ago, I had been overseeing projects across 5 countries. Then new ownership arrived. Men who replaced seasoned women with members of their own inner circle. Now here I was, sitting through my 73rd interview, facing the same wall of doubt again. The interviewer tapped my resume with her pen. This client portfolio seems rather exaggerated. Just then, the side door opened. A sharply dressed man strode in, halted mid-step, and looked right at me. His eyes widened. It's you, he said warmly. The genius who saved us last year when every consultant claimed our product line was doomed. Your strategy completely turned things around. The interviewer's lips parted slightly. That's exactly why I'm here today. The man continued, Elias Bowen, CEO of one of North America's fastest growing consumer brands. We're ready to triple our investment with your firm. Is she joining your team? Because that would seal the deal on the spot. Before I go on, I need to ask you something. Have you ever been underestimated? Has someone ever decided your worth before you even opened your mouth? If you felt that sting of unfair judgment, stay with me, because what happened next didn't just change my life. It reshaped an entire industry. My name is Aviva Renault. At 42, I had built a career in international market strategy from the ground up. I grew up in a small Midwestern town where girls were expected to marry young and stay close to home. I defied that script, working 3 jobs to put myself through business school. My analytical mind and deep empathy for consumer behavior became my trademark. I developed a knack for spotting unseen patterns and transforming them into profitable strategies. But sitting in that interview room at TGR Advisory, none of that seemed to matter to Philomena Oswald, the chief talent officer. Her pencil-thin eyebrows had remained arched the entire conversation. After Elias Bowen left the room, Philomena's demeanor shifted completely. The stiffness drained from her posture. Her sharp tone melted away. Well, this is the following morning at our usual cafe. Nisha practically glowed with excitement. At 56, she carried a spark that defied her years, paired with the wisdom earned from 3 decades in business intelligence. I've been consulting for 3 former Crest clients, she said, eyes bright. And every one of them asked me the same question. Why isn't there a firm that merges data intelligence with cultural understanding? The big players have the numbers, sure, but they completely miss the human side. I nodded, recalling how often our recommendations at Crest had been met with resistance from executives unable to look past their spreadsheets. I've been thinking, Nisha continued, leaning forward across the table. What if we built that firm ourselves? You, me, maybe even Yara. She's got unmatched digital expertise. Yara Okonkwo had been our digital transformation lead at Crest before the acquisition pushed her out. You mean start our own company? I asked. Exactly, she said, her grin widening. Between us, we've got contacts on 4 continents. My severance is untouched, and I bet yours is too. I reached into my bag and slid the TGR offer letter across to her. Nisha skimmed it and gave a low whistle. Impressive number, she said, but your face says you're not exactly thrilled. The interviewer spent 20 minutes telling me my experience didn't seem credible until their client walked in and recognized me. And now they're suddenly eager to hire you, Nisha said knowingly. Classic. If I accept, I sighed, I'm stepping right back into another company where my worth depends on who vouches for me, not what I've actually done. Nisha returned the letter, eyes thoughtful. So what's your alternative? For the first time in months, I felt a surge of energy. Maybe you just gave it to me. Over the next 3 hours, we outlined what would become Prism Strategies, a consultancy designed to focus on the very markets the major firms wrote off as too difficult. These were regions often misread through Western-centric frameworks that ignored cultural subtleties. By Monday, I drafted a polite rejection to TGR, then arranged calls with Yara and two other ex-Crest colleagues who'd also been displaced during the merger. Philomena replied within minutes. This is disappointing. Perhaps a partnership then, he offered quickly. Your boutique insight combined with our global scale could be a strong alliance. Before I could answer, Nisha appeared beside me. Sorry to interrupt, but our next meeting just arrived. There was no such meeting, but her timing couldn't have been better. Of course, I said, turning back to Gerard. It was a pleasure meeting you. That conference became a defining moment for Prism. Within 3 months, we had contracts with 7 major clients, including Elias's company. Our team grew to 17 members, each chosen not just for their expertise, but for their unique perspectives and lived experiences. If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We share real-life business revenge stories every week. Stories of underestimated professionals who completely reshape industries after being dismissed. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to light. Now let's continue, because the Real comeback was only beginning. As our momentum built, we needed a larger space. We found a bright office in a refurbished warehouse district. Modest, but with room to grow. I made one specific request, that our conference room have glass walls overlooking the main floor. At Prism, transparency wouldn't just be a corporate slogan, it would be visible in everything we did. 6 months after the conference, our client list had tripled. Our team expanded to 28, each person adding something distinctive from their background and experiences. While most firms scouted the same 5 elite universities, we found extraordinary minds from schools no one else considered. Vera, our research director, rejected by a dozen top firms despite her groundbreaking market models, completely rebuilt our analytical system. Milo, a 60-year-old former teacher who'd earned his business degree after 3 decades in education, brought psychological insight that revolutionized how we communicated with clients. What made our approach revolutionary wasn't just who we hired, but how we worked. Traditional firms filtered data through Western economic lenses. We flipped that model, analyzing markets through their local cultural context first, and only then applying economic and our talent assessment framework. I asked. A fascinating concept, Philomena replied coolly. Though it would need to align with our established hiring parameters to maintain quality, consistency. I noted how neatly she sidestepped the fact that our model was designed to challenge those very parameters. Could you clarify what you mean by quality consistency? I asked. Her smile tightened. TGR has built its name on a certain caliber of professional. We welcome new perspectives, but must uphold the standards our clients expect. Interesting, I said. And who would oversee this alignment? My division, she replied. We'd collaborate closely during the transition, though all final hiring decisions would adhere to TGR's protocols. Gerard interjected. We're ready to present a very attractive offer, Aviva. Your team would receive strong retention bonuses, and you personally would hold a senior leadership position. Reporting to? I asked. To Philomena, Gerard said. As EVP of Strategy and Integration, she supervises all specialized units. I nodded thoughtfully. Thank you for clarifying. Before we talk numbers, I'd like to show you something. Opening my laptop, I turned the screen toward them. This is a time-lapse analysis of market performance for our clients over the past 18 months, compared to industry averages. The visualization played, revealing clear outperformance across multiple regions and sectors. Both Gerard and Philomena leaned in, visibly taken aback by the scale of the improvement. These results aren't just slightly better, I said. They represent a complete shift in how companies approach market development. Impressive, Gerard murmured. Now, one more thing. I switched slides. This chart shows the demographic and experiential diversity of the teams that produce those results versus the industry norm. The contrast was striking. Prism's teams looked nothing like the uniform groups typical of major consultancies. Our success doesn't happen despite our different approach to talent, I explained. It happens because of it. We don't win by forcing people into a single mold. We win by uncovering perspectives others overlook. Philomena's expression stiffened. While diversity efforts are commendable, TGR maintains certain standards to preserve client confidence. I met her eyes. Are those the same standards that led you to dismiss my experience as implausible during my interview? The room went silent. Gerard shot her a questioning glance. I believe there was some misunderstanding, Philomena said carefully. There wasn't, I replied evenly. You judged my accomplishments as unbelievable until a client validated them. And now you want to apply that same narrow judgment to my entire team. Gerard cleared his throat. Perhaps we should return to the financial discussion. Actually, I said, sliding a folder across the table, I have a counterproposal. These are our terms for even considering an acquisition. Gerard glanced at the first page, eyebrows lifting. This is unconventional. So is Prism, I said. Philomena frowned as she read. This says Prism would remain an independent division, with full authority over hiring and methodology. Correct, I confirmed. And here, Gerard added, you're proposing a new department focused on inclusive hiring, with the power to override traditional recruitment processes? That's right, I said. Philomena's tone turned sharp, her expression frosted over. This completely undermines our entire talent acquisition model. It doesn't dismantle it, I corrected calmly. It evolves it, based on measurable success. Gerard flipped to the final page. Many of you may be wondering why TGR acquired Prism, I began, and why the agreement came with such unusual conditions. The reason is simple. Excellence doesn't always look the way we expect. My first slide displayed the same performance data I'd shown Gerard and Philomena. These results weren't achieved through tradition. They came from challenging assumptions about which markets matter, which strategies work, and which people bring insight. I advanced to the next slide, showing a side-by-side comparison. Conventional recruitment profiles versus Prism's top performers, whose backgrounds defied industry norms. This initiative isn't about lowering standards, I continued. It's about realizing we've been measuring the wrong things, mistaking credentials for competence, pedigree for potential. From the front row, Philomena's expression tightened. In the months ahead, I said, every hiring manager will learn new, evidence-based assessment techniques. Every rejection will require documented proof, explaining why a candidate can't perform the actual job. I paused, making eye contact with different sections of the audience. Change can be uncomfortable, but I'm not here to erase TGR's culture. I'm here to help it see the talent it's been trained to overlook. Talent that will fuel our next era of growth. When the applause finally came, it was steady and sincere. As I stepped down, I noticed Philomena slipping quietly out a side door. The battle between us wasn't finished, but the transformation had officially begun. The following weeks brought predictable pushback. Some senior managers called the new assessment process excessive. Philomena subtly backed their complaints in executive meetings. But 6 weeks later, the tide turned. Our first round of hires, chosen entirely through the inclusive framework, completed their initial projects. Their results outperformed traditional hires across every department. At the quarterly board meeting, I presented the data. Identifying overlooked talent isn't just ethical, I concluded. It's a competitive advantage. The charts spoke for themselves. One board member glanced toward Philomena. Why haven't we been hiring this way all along? He asked. She had no response. 3 months later, TGR's client satisfaction reached its highest score in company history. The new talent model had reshaped not only our workforce, but our entire way of serving clients. The most meaningful moment came a year after the acquisition. I was working late when Philomena appeared at my office door. Her confidence noticeably softened. Do you have a minute? She asked. Of course, I said, gesturing toward a chair. She sat carefully. The Eastern Europe expansion team you built, they identified opportunities no one else saw. Their work was exceptional. I agree. One of the analysts, Teresa, I rejected her twice before your system flagged her potential. She paused. She's brilliant. Yes, I said quietly. Philomena looked down at her hands. I've been reviewing the applicants I dismissed over the past 5 years, people your department later hired. The pattern is troubling. In what way? I asked gently. I consistently overlooked anyone who didn't fit a certain mold, she admitted. Regardless of ability, her gaze lifted to mine. Including you. I waited, letting her continue. When you proposed this acquisition, she said slowly, was your real goal always to change how we identify talent? I considered my answer. When you dismissed my experience that day, it wasn't just personal. It was part of a system that constantly ignores a different kind of excellence. My goal wasn't to outrank you or prove you wrong. It was to make sure that system couldn't keep shutting people out. Philomena nodded, thoughtful. I've asked for a transfer to lead our Asia-Pacific division. Before I go, I wanted you to know. I understand now what you were trying to do. As she stood, I called softly Philomena. She turned